Hello, everyone. This is Sapphire Esquire coming to you with another audio. And this time, this audio is going to be about what's becoming one of my favorite subjects. It is Jay-Z, the rapper. And if you can see from the title of this audio, it looks like Jay-Z has managed to pull defeat from the jaws of victory. And I'm saying that in reference to his trilogy of concerts that he just gave last weekend at Yankee Stadium. Basically, he had a celebration of and a commemoration of the 30-year anniversary of his first album, Reasonable Doubt. And he had a series of 3 concerts at Yankee Stadium, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, where he had these sold out shows. And everybody that was there, people that have commentated on it, that saw snippets, people that, witnesses, it was one of the most incredible experiences that they've ever had. Basically, it was a real true moment in hip hop. Maybe one of the greatest moments in hip hop that's ever been. The first night was a celebration of Reasonable Doubt. And the first night he brought out, through the whole series, he brought out just an array of stars and rappers and, really people that have helped him and been with him through his career. So the first night he brought out his wife, Beyonce, his daughter, Blue Ivy, came out and played the piano. And probably the most notable guest he had was Nas. And if you all remember, maybe you don't remember, basically one of the biggest battles before the Kendrick Lamar-Drake battle, the rap battle between him and Nas was considered one of the greatest rap battles in hip hop. That was about 20 years ago. And, since then, I know people have thought that they've been beefing all this time, but they really haven't. I think they've probably been made up and become friends at least for a decade. But it was still very significant for him to bring him out. I mean, it was kind of uniting all of New York. So people were really, really thrilled about that. And it was just an incredible experience from people that were there. The second night, he brought out another array of incredible stars, Pharrell, Slick Rick from back in the day, and various others. And probably the most notable that second day, was Eminem. By the way, the second day, actually, I forgot to mention that he was celebrating the Blueprint album, which is considered a classic album, one of his greatest albums. And if you remember, maybe you don't, it was basically came out right after 9/11. So in the beginning of the show, the show actually didn't start until 9/11. So he was, performing a lot of his hits from that. And probably the people that he brought out was, like I said, Pharrell, Slick Rick, and probably the most notable person that he brought out was Eminem, the rapper. And they performed Renegade together, and also Eminem performed probably his greatest hit, which is Lose Yourself. So, and like I said, from witnesses, from people that saw it or saw snippets, it was just one of the most incredible experiences that people could have gone to. The third night was called Extra Innings because it's in Yankee Stadium, and he kind of just sort of went through his catalog and brought out a big array of stars, brought out Beyonce again, he brought out Usher, and probably the most notable person he brought out was Rihanna, and they performed Run This Town Tonight. So another incredible performance, another incredible night, and all of hip-hop community was celebrating. Unfortunately, though, Jay-Z couldn't leave it at that. And on the first day, I believe, he started freestyling. And during his freestyle, he talked about the backlash that he was getting for the Target deal. And just to give you a little background, the black community had been boycotting Target for the past year because of their basically rolling back their DEI program, diversity, equity, and inclusion program. And the boycott had really picked up a lot of momentum. And then about a month and a half, Jay-Z announced that he was going to do an exclusive partnership with Target where they would be selling the Reasonable Doubt commemorative album exclusively. So that really kind of caught the black community, a lot of the black community, I shouldn't say the black community, but a lot of the black community off guard. And people were very upset about that because it sort of reminded people of basically the history of the things that Jay-Z has done. And I've actually talked about that before where, the NFL was basically there was issues with the NFL. Colin Kaepernick was protesting, about 10 years ago, the extrajudicial murder of black men, the police brutality and murders that black men had, that happened to black men at the hands of the police. And he started kneeling on the field. And people, started asking, well, why are you kneeling? And he spoke about it, and he was protesting against, the police brutality and the murders of young black men at the hands of the police. And it kind of grew momentum. The protest kind of caught on, and a lot of momentum it created. And then other players started kneeling. And eventually what happened was Colin Kaepernick lost his job as an NFL player, and he claimed he was blackballed, and it seems like the evidence did show that happened. No NFL team would pick him up, even though he was in his prime. He had been to a Super Bowl a couple of years prior. So he ended up suing the league. And during all of that, Jay-Z comes in, and it was announced that he was basically his company Roc Nation was going to be procuring the talent for the NFL Super Bowl halftime show. And during the press conference, Jay-Z kind of made this very famous, a very infamous statement when somebody asked about Kaepernick, and he said something to the effect of, we're past kneeling now. And that's always kind of stuck with him and kind of, I think, haunted him. He probably, if he had to do that over again, Jay-Z probably wouldn't have used those words. But anyway, that was what he said. And, the rest is history. He went on to Roc Nation now procures the talent for the halftime show for the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick never did get a work in the NFL ever again. He sued them, and I guess there was some type of settlement. And what Jay-Z alluded to in the freestyle was that, you're bringing up Kaepernick again, and he basically took a check and to be quiet, and he's had to sign a non-disparagement, basically kind of implying that Kaepernick had sold out. And there was really immediate backlash. I mean, even from the fans, the people at the concert, there was almost this visible kind of shock at the audience. In fact, he actually had to repeat it. I don't know if he thought that maybe people didn't hear him because of the reaction. It was silent, and people were, really shocked that he said that. Now, one of the things that I believe is that Jay-Z didn't know that it had just been announced that Colin Kaepernick was going to be paying for a private autopsy for a young man that was died under mysterious circumstances in Mississippi by the name of Nolan Wells. And he disappeared and then was found deceased under very mysterious circumstances. And the family didn't trust, the local Mississippi officials to do an adequate job and, determine the cause of death for a lot of very good reasons that I won't go into now. And it was announced that Colin Kaepernick was going to be paying for the autopsy. That literally had just happened, so I do not think Jay-Z or his team were aware of that. But unfortunately, he said that, and it really did not make him look good. And I guess, the question that I have is, he had this incredible, 3-night concert series, and it really just put hip hop back on, everybody's radar. And people had been saying, I mean, people were really saying he saved hip hop, because the last few years, people are saying hip hop is going down. It's losing a lot of its appeal, and country music was taken over as the number one genre in music. And people were saying literally he saved it. And all that kind of was, a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of it was spoiled by those comments. And it kind of made people remember all the other things that, Jay-Z does that are frankly kind of questionable. Like, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into detail about it. Like, the Barclay deal, where he was saying he was going to be a pirate owner, and, they had to build this Barclay Center in Brooklyn, and, they had to displace a lot of black homeowners. And that turned out to be not quite the case. And then there were just various other things that, and, a lot of people are saying, there's criticism of whenever the black community has some kind of momentum and has something going, Jay-Z steps in and kind of dissipates the energy. He's kind of like the corporate go-to guy. So it kind of, unfortunately, in the midst of with those beautiful concerts and the good feeling in hip hop, he kind of brought that back. So I guess I'm just kind of wondering, I guess, and a lot of people are, why bring up Colin Kaepernick at all? It's like, it really didn't make sense. And it makes you wonder what really, I mean, I guess the criticism must have really be affecting him. And, Jay-Z's character, he kind of reminds me of, if you're familiar with Greek tragedies, the way those characters, there's always this main character, and he's like this incredible person, and everybody loves him, and he has all these incredible qualities, but he always has what they call like a fatal flaw that ultimately brings him down. And Jay-Z, sometimes I think he kind of reminds me of that now, because the only thing that could have motivated him would have been like just, this, ego, maybe even some jealousy, a Kaepernick, hubris. So I think my conclusion of all of this is, I think it's time that we sort of start turning away from celebrities altogether. I think we should basically put celebrities where they really need to be. They're basically entertainers, and that's all. I don't think we should look for them for political activism. I don't think we should look for them for righteous, to do righteous things and tell us what the right thing to do is. We don't need, we see 50 Cent going in front of MAGA and performing in front of them, and a lot of the other rappers, and we see Cardi B coming out telling black people who they should vote for, because I don't think they really, really do understand what the real issues are, or care, frankly. Back in the day, you had celebrities that really seemed to care about the issues in the community. Like you had the Harry Belafonte's and the Tony Curtis's and Paul Newman's that, were there with Martin Luther King and during his speeches, and, supported him and walked with him and donated money. But now it just seems like these celebrities, they all just seem to be kind of just bought and paid for, like most of our politicians. So I think we should really worry about doing our own activism, doing our research, looking for candidates that support our issues, support our goals and our values, and not really worry about these celebrities. And with that, guys, I think that's it. I think that is probably the best way to go now. Let me know what you think. Do you think it wasn't any big deal? Oh, you know what? Actually, that does remind me. Not only that, the freestylist, he, another thing, unforced error that I think Jay-Z made was he had his one of his artists, Memphis Bleak, who's, a famous rapper, has a lot of hits, going on this kind of very strange press run where he's going around defending Jay-Z and basically attacking activism. I mean, he don't give a F about that activism. I mean, just saying really bizarre things like, we all sound like that old lady that's wondering about why we're outside around, at 3 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't she know we're selling drugs, B? Don't you, you don't get it. And we should be happy that Jay-Z's making all this money because he showing us how to make money. Just very bizarre. I get basically saying we shouldn't care how anybody's making the money, whether or not it's a drug dealer or whatever. We should just be grateful that they're making money and they can show us how to make money. In some ways, I would say that's like saying that slaves that shouldn't have been upset with their slave masters for making them slaves because they were teaching them how business and this is how you make money. It's just very bizarre. So, and obviously people thinking, well, he's not Jay-Z, but that's Jay-Z's man. And, I think it's pretty clear that he's got him out here doing these weird press runs. So, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself. We just need to, I think, maybe just leave these celebrities to where they are. They're entertainers. And that's really all we should look for them to do. So anyway, let me know what you think about it. Do you think it's, a big deal or not? Or, do you agree with me? But anyway, that is it, guys. And I am out. Have a good rest of the week. Take care.